Hello. So, hello guys. Today we're going to level up our skills in Java in React. So it has been a while that I've not done this stuff. So let me just try. Okay, guys, give me a minute. I'm coming back. So today, uh, today we're going to continue with a challenge. So now let's go here. So we're supposed to build a full search app here. So here is our thinking board where we shall think about the solution together. Let me put it right down. Let me reduce it. The thing is good like this. Up, up, up. Hello, is anyone in the chat? Hello, is anyone in the chat? Okay. Let us continue. So step 9 was saying that you need a function from when the form gets submitted. Define a handled. Okay, understand here. So to basically create this function and submit, and that accepts an event object e, event object e, and calls. Okay, so it should have prevent default. So this, I think this guy is preventing that when the page reload. So even if the page reloads, I think that is it. Even if the page reload, the data remains intact. So the data does not go away. Select it. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, pass the handle submit function to the onSubmit prop of the form element so the form submission can be handled correctly. Sorry. So here's the form. So here's it. So here is here on submit. Now we just have to reference the function. So doing like this, we're calling the function, which is wrong. That means that every time that React will render this component, it will call again that function. So it's wrong. So you just have to reference the function and that's it. So after the form, add a div element with an ID of result that will display the search result. Okay. Here's the form. Here's the form. They want us to add an ID div element. So to do that is we should add a div element. Div element. Now the ID here will be result. So it will display the search results. So let me see. Normally here is the search results here in this state. So to display that is very easy. display that is very easy. You guys should give me a minute. Let me increase. I hope you guys the volume is good. Okay, as I was saying, to display that is very easy. So it depends. Since it's an array, we just like we have to map through it. But I don't know if it's an exercise here. If you have to do that for this exercise, okay. Check the code. Yeah, we're not supposed to do that. Maybe it's in the next exercise. Okay. Now, inside the result element, use the ternary operator to check if the length of result array is greater than 0. So, to do that, first of all, to greater than is if it is, map over the item and display each one in P element with the class name result item. Be sure to use the key value, very important attribute, with each paragraph as well. So if the result is empty, render P element with no message result. So to do this is simple. You guys should not forget that in React, so as I was saying, you guys should not forget that in React, whenever we want to write anything about JavaScript, we have to put that in parentheses. So since we're using the ternary operator to do that, so basically the syntax of the ternary operator is like condition, say case 1 if the condition is true, and case 2 if the condition is false. So that's how it is. So now our case 1 here is displaying each element of the result, and our case 2 is displaying this no message. So let's first of all check if the result length is greater than 0. So, and don't forget that this result length is this coming from this state here. This result, sorry, is coming from the state here above. From the state above. Okay. From the state above. So to do that is very easy. You first of all, since it's an array, you use the property length and check, use the ternary operator. This, if it's true, what happens is that we display the array. So let me just write display array results. Say display array items. And if it's false, what we shall do is simply display. So they said greater than 0. So let me just put the condition here correctly. So greater than 0. And if it's false, display this item. So a P element. So let me just display the P element very fast. P element. And this P element will we simply have this no result found, no result found. That's just it. Just be supposed stop. Okay. So as you guys can see here, the thing is greater than, it's less than 0, so that means that's why we have this no result found. And here we shall just try and display everything, display the element in the array, display the elements in the array. So how to do that? We need basically a map function. So it's a higher order function. So normally this is the syntax of the map function. So the array comes first, and if you don't know how to use map function, I would just recommend you to go and watch my video that I did on it. I did so many videos on it, so just check on my page, you'll see it. So now what we shall do here is taking the conditions. Sorry, this one is supposed to be here. So we take result boom map. So map, and in map we shall, for example, take result. There's a problem here. Yeah, I don't want to be missing brackets, so we shall say result. Let's say, for example, item and index. That's it. It's an arrow function, and we have this. So they're asking us, what are they asking us to do? Guy. So they're asking us to display each item, display each one in a p element. So basically we should do like this. And what's the class name? In JavaScript normally it's supposed to be class, but in React it's class name. So the class name here is result item. So on what we shall display is simply the item. So I think that's correct here. Yeah, it's simply the item, and we should not forget the key, which is very important. Sorry. Here is index. That's it. I think I'm correct now. So map over the items, and okay, I think it's correct. So okay, let us run the code. Check if the code is correct. Okay, there's an error. Say your container should contain a list matching fruits based on the query. Each result should be a p element with class result item, okay, and should show the name of the fruit, but there's no fruits here. But for example here there's no fruit. So what can I do? So let me say, for example, put in the initial state mango. So okay, normally mango is supposed to display. So that is, we made an error here. It's not. Is it because of this bracket? Maybe the syntax is not correct. Not still correct. Item index key result. So it's an array. Yes. I see. Maybe I should do like this. Index. It's not still giving. Also, it's wrong. But what's wrong here? So let me ask ChatGPT. I think normally it's supposed to be correct. Okay. So it's just because of this return function. So either it returns something, but that's how I did it. So it's saying that. I'll copy this guy and see what's here. Okay, I got it correct. So I had it correct, just that I was missing this parenthesis. That's it. Index item. No, that was it. So let me put back this guy to empty. Normally it's supposed to say no item. So there's still a problem. Greater than 0. So there's a problem here. I think that's just not supposed to be wrong. Wait, let me check. Oh, it's still wrong. So what's wrong here? If someone is there, can tell me in the chat when no one is there. I think now is correct. It's not still working. Why? thing is case sensitive. You guys should not forget to subscribe. Pin this message. So now the errors I made was because the first thing that was that I initialize the array with an empty string. So therefore it was not empty. That's the error that I made. So now let's continue step 4. Step 13, you will make your app get fruit name from the API when a user type in the input. So first add a use effect hook so that it returns whenever the query state changes. Make sure to pass an arrow function as its first argument. As the first argument of the user state, and include query as in the dependency array. Very interesting. So here is query. Where is query again? Where does it come from? Let's check again. Here's it. So query. Here's it. So use effect. Here is how it is. Effect. And in it we have two parameters. So use effect has two parameters. So an arrow function and a dependency array. So let me just show you guys the syntax. So we have first the arrow function. Afterward, we have the dependency array. So now in the dependency array, we set in parameters or items that will change, that on which we shall determine whether React shall determine whether it has to re-render a component or not. So, and inside the arrow function, we simply give in a logic. So we give in a logic that we want it to render. So to run it to run. So we give in a logic. We want to run every time an element dependency array changes. So changing means that, for example, if it's a value, there is an increment. If it's a string, maybe it's not more the same string, something like that. So here it told us to use query. Query is a state here, so it's an initial variable, and inside here, inside the function, the actions, what are the actions? They say first add a use effect, blah blah blah. Make sure to pass an arrow function as first argument, and okay, does it. So let's move on to the next step. Now the next step is with the arrow function. So inside the use effect callback function, add an if condition to check whether the query is not empty. That's it. If it is, this this check if the query is an empty string or contains spaces. So if so, call set result and return early. Set result. We want to set result. Okay, I understand. So first of all, check if the query is not an empty string. Is it? So if it's not that, what we shall do is simply call set result with an empty string. So it would set the result. It would set this result to an empty string. That's it. And what we shall do is return. Okay. If this is true, call with an empty array, then use return after that. This is an empty array. If the query is not empty, so the else part, you want to get the fruit that match the user input from the API, but only after user stops typing for a short period to avoid making the fetch call too frequently. So to start, after the if statement, call a set timeout. Set timeout. So set timeout is like it's like an asynchronous function that basically waits a certain amount of time before executing the code in its logic. That's just it. So call with an empty arrow function and a delay of 70 milliseconds. So let me just open the documentation. So 70 set time. Here's it. Let's look at that example. Here's it. So set time out, set as an arrow function. So first of all, arrow function and a delay. So the delay was that store it in a variable called time ID. Okay, I see. There's this So the question is, what does the return? Okay, the return value. The method returns a positive integer, typically from 1 to 10. that uniquely identifies the timer created by the caller. Okay, I see. So one tip here that I want to give you guys is hello YouTube. So one tip I want to give you guys is that whenever you want to deal in function, so whenever you want to deal with function, you always have to ask yourself, what are the parameters? What are the return values? Very important. Hello Yash, welcome to the live. So to do that, he said we should store it in a variable called timeout id. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Step 16. Hello, Yash Edit. Hope you're doing great. So let's move on to step 16. Update the first argument of the set timeout to an async function arrow. This allows you to use await inside the delay logic. Inside that function, create a try catch block to handle any potential error. Makes sense. Sorry. So change the first argument to an async function. That's it. Just put the async stuff here. Asynchronous function. So asynchronous function, from what I understood, is that it's a function that does not follow the, how can I say it? Yeah, that does not follow the flow of the code. So, for example, we read our code from top to right to down, top to down. That's it. So when JavaScript engine, so when JS is processing the code, he does not wait for the async function. That's just it. So now what you have to understand is that every time, there's something that is very important to understand. Every time that you are dealing with asynchronous function, you always have to use the try and catch block. Very important. So the try and catch block is just there to potentially catch any error, or for example, to make sure that everything works fine, and to avoid that your app to be broken down. So let me just try and show you guys try and catch. Here's it. So let us do the thing. Try cache block. That's it. So this allows you to use await inside the delay the logic. So inside that function, create a try cache. Okay, I think that we're done. So what is happening here is that every 700 milliseconds, so every 700 milliseconds, we send an API request. That's it. Let's move on. Hello Fonts Universal, and welcome. It's more sunlight here, so you guys should not forget to like and share the live so that it can help other people. So step 17 here is try block called the fetch function with inside the try block, call the fetch function with this and store the results in a variable name response. Since you're inside an async function, use await before fetch. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So basically, you have const response, and you use the await keyword. So let me just show you guys. So basically, every time that you want to deal with asynchronous function, there are always things that terms that will always come back. So async function, we will talk about try and cache block. And sometimes finally. The next term that you hear about is await keyword. So this one is used in an synced function. You guys should note it. The next thing here is fetch function. The next thing here is JSON function. For example, when you want to convert your result in a JavaScript object, you have to use that. What else? You also sometimes have to do some checks. Check if the API request was successful. And a more global topic that covers all what this asynchronous function does is promises in JavaScript. So if you want to know more about it, and or if you guys want me to make a video about it, just let me know in the comments in the text chat. So promises, and in promises is just like a state. It's just like a representation of different states, and in the different states are the first state is successful, pending, so pending, and failure. So let me say it like that. I'm sure if I'm not saying anything wrong, maybe it's yeah, I think that's right. If I'm wrong, you guys should correct me. Okay, dash. Sorry if I don't pronounce the name very well. So you're asking me if sorry if I didn't reply early. So you're asking me if it is good and it's a good option. Yeah, if it's a good option to do React, learn web development since AI is rising. Yes, it is a good option because as the CEO of GitHub said, I don't know if you guys read that thing. GitHub CEO. Yeah, here's the article. Here's it. GitHub CEO say AI won't replace developers because smart companies will now double down on engineers and not cut them off. That's just it. Normally, basically, what will happen is that if you learn how to develop with the help of React, with the help of AI, you will be more you'll be more productive. Let me say it like that, compared to someone who does not use AI. Let's say, for example, yeah, I had this issue to fix. I just went to ChatGPT and told him that, okay, I have made an error. There's an error here. I don't know where it is. Can you help me debug it? He just gave me the answer in less than 1 minute, for example. But when we compared that case, for example, the example I just gave with what happened before, so what other developers were doing, they would have just simply gone to Stack Overflow and start checking what is wrong and what's not correct. So it is worthy to learn React. It is worthy to learn web development. I hope that I answer your question. So now let's say the fish. So now let's go on to the query. So go and take the query. Here's it. And store in the result response. Since you don't forget to use the fish listing, it's correct. So where is it? Where is it right here? Oh, cache error. So let me see cache error on like console point error. Okay. Why is it wrong? There's an error here. Yeah, okay. Normally it's supposed to be. I think it's still wrong. Oh, it's gone. But I think it's supposed to be template clear. Yeah, because of this guy here. Query. Now we are done. Let's move on to the next challenge. Step 18. As I said, whenever you see asynchronous function, you always have to deal with this JSON stuff, JSON, and here is it. Okay. The Sussex na. Sorry. There's no problem. I'm really happy that the explanation helped you. If you, as usual, I will tell you to just like subscribe to the channel because I'll be making nice videos about web development. If you are looking for a community, I have a Discord, so you just go and check that thing up. Just go and check the Discord, and I'll be glad to come in contact with you. So now the next step here is call the JSON on the response, store the result in the variable data. Since you are still inside the async function, normally you're supposed to use the await before response. So let's work on this step. So the first thing is that, as I said, normally what I'm doing here, I'm trying to because I believe in first principle thinking, because first principle thinking simply stipulates that when you have a concept, make sure that you understand the concept. You have to divide the concept into smaller concepts so that it should be very easy for anyone, for even a child, to understand the concept. So first principle is just simply means that you break the concept into smaller concepts, so building smaller building blocks so that you can basically understand the concept itself. So that's what I'm using for this live, so that anyone that is a beginner in React or anything else can understand the concept. Me also, it will help me to revise the concept. So now the JSON, as I said, whenever you have a function, you always ask yourself what are the parameters and what are the return values. So we have this JSON function. So the return value here is, so the parameter here is null, void, so let me put it like that, And the return value here, I think it should be a JavaScript object, so a JS object. So if you don't know what an object is, let me know in the chat below so that I can explain to you it to you. So let me use this documentation. It's very important to use the documentation if you don't know something. So let's go down to JSON method response, because we are taking the response. So let's see, where is it? The return value is a promise that resolves into an object, a JavaScript object, as I said. This object could be anything that can be represented by a JSON, an object, an array, a string, or a number. So here's an example here, and I'm sure here is it, response. Here's the usage response. That's it. That's just it. So we know the return value, so we know how to use it, so we shall simply go on and just store it inside and just use it for the array, for the variable. So guys, give me a minute. Okay, now let us write the data, which equals to response followed by the JSON. So that's it. They're saying that there's an error. You should call JSON on response and store it in data. Okay, is it not correct? I call JSON here. Okay, there's something wrong. I forgot the await signal. It's very important. So important rule. So whenever dealing async, so whenever dealing with async function, always use await. So now let's continue. As the next step, so now that you have the data from the API, update the result state by calling set and passing in an array that contains all the names, property from each fruit in the data array. Use the map method for this. Okay, I don't really understand this. Let us break it down. So now that you have the data from the API, so the data is here, update the result state. So the result state is here by calling set result. So what I know is update. We do that set result. That's it. And passing in an array that contains only the name property from each object, from each fruit in data array. use map for this. So let us forward check the structure of the array. So I will just like console not structure of the data. So normally supposed to show you. It's not showing. I know that we just have to use set result. Okay. And we take in the object and take the name property. Okay. So let me say like name of fruits. Like this, and we shall use the map function. So data map function, and we shall only take the property, so the property name. So to do that, I think is like fruit, like this, and says fruit name. So here we can still use the filter function, and we take the array here, names of fruit. So let me try again. Wrong. You should update the set with data. Okay, normally it's supposed to be like this. Okay, that's it. Okay, let's move on to the next challenge. So now the next challenge is for the cache block, add an error parameter. Then use the console.error to log any error that occurs while fetching or processing the data. Okay, this one is pretty straightforward. I hate the fact that this thing is case sensitive. So now step 21. Below your timeout variable, return a cleanup function that clears timeout using clear timeout ID. Okay. This prevents multiple delay fetches from stacking up. Make sure your cleanup function is an arrow function with an implicit return. Okay, I don't properly get it. Another way, insert the use effect. Okay. And with that, your fruit search app is complete. Try out your fruit search app by typing in the name of a fruit like apple, pear, to see the result appear. So to anyone that's watching, can you guys please give me a name, the name of a fruit that I can search, please? Actually, there are 6 people watching the live, so please, can you guys please write in the chat the a name of a fruit, please? So now, below your time ID variable, return a clean function, cleanup function that clears the timeout using. Okay. So where's my timeout ID? Here's it. I see below it, I should return a cleanup function. So let me say it like this: cleanup. I don't know. It's not an async. I think it's not an async. Yeah. The cleanup function is supposed to be calling this guy clear timeout with time ID. I think that's, and make sure that, and with that, this prevents, make sure your cleanup function is an arrow function with an implicit return. So we can just break like this. This, when you write return like this, so let's see. Well, so when you write return like this in JavaScript, it helps us exit the function. That's it. So I think it's okay like this. I don't know if it will work. So there's an error. You should return an arrow function that calls okay. So I see what they're talking about now. Since you were inside this guy, so what we were supposed to do now is we're supposed to return let me say return like this if it's working. So with no name, and that's it. We are done. The thing now is correct. Still wrong. So you should return an arrow function that calls time out. Okay. I'm sure it's because of this side. It's at the end of the use effect. Okay, here's the arrow function. It calls this guy. Okay, we are done for this challenge. As no one sent the fruit, so let me just take a fruit. Let's say guava. Let's say apple. No result. How? It takes time. So guys, we are done with this challenge. Build a fruit search app. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So guys, you guys should not forget to subscribe and like the chat. Okay. Now let's go on to build something else. Okay. This will be pretty hard, I think so. I see use rep. I've never seen that. So let's just continue on. You should render it if so I'll be looking at these steps to do the thing, and if for example there's something wrong here, I will climb up and look at the user story. So class name, the container should contain an h1 element with id up title, and with the id top the text of so h1 element, so id is equals to opt title and text is OTP generator. We are done with 3. container should contain H2 element with ID OTP display that display the OTP generated. Okay. H2 ID OTP display. Yes, okay. Initially, the H2 is inside the container should display the message clicked. Okay. Initially, so at the beginning. Now, number 6, the container element should contain a P element with now the container element should contain an element P, contain a P element with ID. So P OTP time. The P element should have a real life attribute set to assertive or polite. A real life attribute set to, let's say, polite. The container should contain a button. So I think that I will stop the live here. We shall continue next week. So guys, what I want to tell you guys is that I will be doing as I was saying, I'll be doing another live next week. No, next week, this week that's coming, where we shall be building something very